Open that awning, set up your camp chairs, and put something cold in your hand because
It's The Riveted with Chris and Gina.
we just landed a whale.
A whale.
A whale.
Ooh.
What? How do you say that? Whale or whale?
A whale.
I
It
mean,
depends on where you're from.
this is big stuff. This is huge.
Huge.
Yes.
That's a whale.
Yeah. So, listener, we are super excited today because what we're getting ready to talk about is going to be so like deep and complex isn't the right word. So amazing with regard to Airstream history and love of the brand and longevity and connection, everything, that we are just super excited to have Oliver and Sarah Berning with us today. Oliver comes from the Berning family, which has a tremendous connection to Airstream from way back in the day. He's going to tell us all about it. Sarah, his lovely wife, is by his side and has just married into royalty, I think. I think that's the best way to say it. Like
Airstream royalty?
That's not the right word either. I'm doing a terrible job of introducing
Well, I
this
offered to do it, but that's okay.
No, I got it.
I'm going to let you suffer through. Keep going. You've got my attention, which is a good thing.
They are a lovely couple. We had a lot of great chats.
The warm up was fabulous
chats before this recording.
Yes,
and I heard so much amazing information that's why I'm so like speechless almost, even though I'm doing a bunch of talking.
Well, one thing you could say
about what we're about to talk about.
Yes. Well, one thing you could say is where they are right now.
I was getting ready to do that.
Oh, you were?
Yes.
Well, get ready.
So we have a first on the podcast. We are talking to someone from another country.
We are.
Right now, Oliver and Sarah are in Peru, and we have our first international listener/guest on the Riveted with Chris and Gina.
That's correct.
So there's so many exciting things that are happening on this podcast and that we're going to talk about. We've got to get it started. So without further ado, Oliver and Sarah, welcome to the Riveted with Chris and Gina.
Thanks again for having us. We really appreciate it. We, like you said, Gina, we had an awesome time during our warm-up call. So hopefully, this is one of those situations where it ends up, the podcast itself ends up just as awesome as the warm-up, and I think it will. So
yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So I want to come right out of the gate and just because I know our listener is going to want to know this. Why Peru? Like, are you there on vacation? Do you live there? What's happening there right now?
We lived here before in, what was it,
2022.
2022, and we just really like it here. So we had to come back. And 3 months is as long as we're allowed to stay without a visa. So that's kind of our time limit here.
Right.
That's cool.
Yep. And we're kind of crazy. We like to just kind of go out for breakfast one morning and pick out the different places that we want to travel to, and then we just book the tickets and go. So that's how we like to do things.
That's pretty awesome.
So what you do is fly there and stay in like an apartment or a hotel or something for the 3 months?
Yep. I mean, we have 3 kids under 4 years old, and if they're that crazy, it's honestly easier for us to just stay put for a long time.
Right.
Yep.
As opposed to just doing a vacation somewhere. So
yeah.
Yep. So we always get Airbnbs, and we try and find places or at least deals that are as cheap as we can afford. I don't make a whole lot of money with my salary, so whenever people see that we travel, there's this kind of misconception that we must be millionaires, we must have trust funds or different things like that. And I mean, you can travel and almost live way cheaper than in the States. So you could almost save money by traveling.
Yeah, when you can get a full course meal here for $1.50, then it's pretty doable.
Wow.
Well,
even our I was going to say even our rent was $220 a month last time we lived here. So 2-bedroom apartment, nice, nice location.
Yeah, we have to travel or else we're gonna go broke.
Yeah.
I was picking trust fund. That's what I was picking.
Oh, you were?
That's what I thought.
Oh, okay.
I wish, man, if you could just get us signed up for a trust fund, Chris, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Maybe we need to do a get one free, buy one get one on a trust fund or something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
are you feeling okay today, Chris?
I'm excited because
okay.
All right, we got to just get into it.
Well,
because
I wish we would. Maybe you could just be quiet and let the three of us talk today.
Gina, we have so much to get to, and there's so many amazing, cool things that I'm excited.
Okay.
So the thing that I guess let's start with, just especially for any potential listener that may not be aware of some of your family's history with Airstream and so forth. Give us a little backstory on that, and bring everybody up to speed on like where you guys are right now, and fourth generation, right? Of Berning Family.
Yeah, actually fifth generation with my kids.
Yeah,
with our kids. So
yep. So
it's kind of crazy. I won't touch on it a whole lot because it doesn't directly involve us, I guess. But my great grandparents actually sold the first Airstream out of the Jackson Center plat back in 1952. I forget what the BRN was. It was like 25229 or something like that, 25529. I don't know. There's some pictures of it on the burningmuseum.org website. But my grandparents took over in the mid 70s from my great grandparents, and we were actually the number 2 dealership behind Airstream of California for many years in the 70s and 80s, which is really cool. So we have a lot of communications and letters and things from Airstream directly that is like, oh my gosh, your numbers are so great, keep up the good work,
awesome.
kind of letters, which are super fun to look over.
Yeah, I saw that letter on the website, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
there's a picture of the letter on there.
Yeah. I don't remember which letter that was directly. I think that was related to the first Airstream, because there was some pictures that were kind of lost for a while, and then Airstream headquarters reached out to my great grandparents and said, "Hey, we found these, in the nook and cranny of the couch," kind of kind of situation, and sent over the pictures with that letter. And so that was really cool because it was, again, it's it's a legacy for our family to say that we were the ones that did that. So
this is a dealership. It's in Fort Wayne, Indiana, right? Berning Trailer Sales.
Yep.
And one of the very first dealers at all in the country, right?
Yeah. Because I think we actually were the first to sell Airstream, just because it was Airstream of California, which was the main the kind of headquarters. But as soon as they switched over to Jackson Center in the early 50s, I think they were actually the first ones, because something that I forgot to mention in my little notes that I have here, but my great-grandfather actually worked as an executive at International Harvester, which is based out of Fort Wayne as well.
Oh, yeah.
They're not around today as much, but they were the ones that kind of provided a lot of the vehicles for Wally's trips, in Africa trip as well as around the world.
The caravans you're talking about.
And so they actually knew about Airstream coming into it. So they were excited about it from the get-go.
Yeah. And and on that same site where that dealership is where your Berning Family Museum is going to open soon, right?
Yeah. My brother has spent many years really trying to build it up. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, so people, including Ken Faber up in Michigan, have donated different trailers and things to the museum itself, and we're definitely wanting to get it off the ground. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I think my brother was thinking 2025, so next year.
So the museum has been a work in progress for how long now? Like many years, or just a couple, or?
I think my brother took over a lot of the Berning trailer sales side of things back in 2017, 2018, something like that.
Before we met, yeah.
Yeah, it was before Sarah and I met. And then he was really focused on just buying and selling Airstreams at that point that he found on Facebook Marketplace and different things. So he would kind of flip the trailers, and we would, there wasn't as much focus on kind of the parts or the maintenance or history of Airstream at that point. And then everything kind of shifted once we started talking about the caravans, once we visited the Heritage Center with my grandpa and did all of these things. And then we're like, oh my gosh, we have all of these things. Let's start digging through them. And we realized we had even more so than I think even Airstream has from certain decades regarding like dealership stuff. So
Yeah,
it was just really, really cool to see.
I bet so.
So I have a question for you about your grandparents. Are they still living?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're over on the other side of town now. My brother and sister-in-law bought the business from them, and ironically, Sarah and I, who we weren't even really looking for a permanent place to stay, we were planning on just traveling all the time. We ended up buying their home.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Very cool.
so we got a great deal out of it, not because of being related to them, but just because of the timing. We bought it right when the interest rates were like 2.75%.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Perfect time for
it's
that.
really enabled
Right.
us. Yeah, exactly. It's enabled us to travel without worrying about having some crazy mortgage to pay back at home. So,
Right. No, that's
Yeah, and
good.
it's nice to have a home base to go back to and
oh yeah.
not have to worry about looking for who we can stay with in the family. And
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, because that gets annoying really fast.
Yeah.
And I know you're the Airstream that you were telling us about that you have is you don't use it that much because it needs a little bit of repair. But is that where it is at the house or is it at the dealership?
It's at the dealership. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a 69 Overlander,
Mhm.
and it's just kind of gathering dust or rust underneath outside of Berning trailer sales right now in the back.
Yeah.
We're kind of in between right now.
Yeah,
That's
and
okay.
you with the army of kids that you're producing, it sounds like the past few years, you're probably shopping for a particular new rig that
Can house everybody.
you can either modify to hold everybody or something like that. So what's kind of like what's your plans for that when you get something that everybody can camp in?
Well, we definitely don't want to turn into those like TikTok parents that have 14 kids in a small little minivan or something. And
That's not true. Oliver would love to be that
Well,
little TikTok
no.
family.
I would love to have 14 kids, but we would have multiple vehicles at that point.
Yeah.
But we definitely with the caravan that we're planning, which I'm sure we'll talk about
Yeah.
a lot later on. We definitely want to find something that is short enough, but long enough for our family. So we're kind of thinking max like 26 feet, something like that. Single axle if possible, and then something from like the 50s or 60s, or one of the European versions of Airstreams, just because of the sizes and weights and
Yeah.
everything else.
And like you'll build it out custom to fit what you need as a family with the kids and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. One of the other Fort Wayne businesses that pretty much everyone knows is 80/20, aluminum extrusion. So I thought it'd be really cool to work with 80/20 and just kind of rebuild everything as light as possible and, function over form in this case. I don't really care how it looks as long as it works and doesn't rattle itself apart in 4 years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
So even with the Airstream that you've got in the back of the shop there, are there other Airstreams around there that y'all were remodeling or your brother might be, or is that the only one?
Yeah, so we're always having Airstreams in and out of Berning trailer sales. Like I said, a lot of them we find from Facebook Marketplace. Sometimes we have connections with different people. We'll buy them from people that were trying to restore them but didn't finish them. And right now my cousin Chase has kind of taken the lead to redo a liner, an Airstream liner from, I think it's like the 40s, like 49 or something
Wow.
like that.
Yeah.
I'm not as big into the, I don't know as much about the names of Airstreams from back in the day, but it's a really cool project. Sarah actually made the cushions for it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's right. I did. I
That's
didn't
nice.
even remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
So
that's pretty nice. Now, are
So-
these Airstreams that you guys will resell, or you're doing the work for someone else?
So they're all ours as far as between my brother and sister-in-law. Not necessarily us. We don't own anything apart from the one out back, but my cousin
We've
Chase.
done a couple of flips, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did a couple flips during COVID.
Mhm.
Like we went out to West Virginia and we bought one. I think that was a Safari, right?
mhm.
And they were basically just using it as a storage place. And so when we took all of their stuff out, which they did not do prior to it, so we had to sit there with their family and everyone. And
They just said, "There it is. You go ahead and unload everything."
yep, so we just unpacked all the, I don't want to say crap. It's memories, right?
Yes.
Sure.
Just a bunch of stuff. And what's crazy is that it was actually acting as like a preservation of the interior. It looked
really good
it
once
looked
we got it all
beautiful.
cleaned out. We were very surprised.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just direct from, I think that was like a 68.
Mhm.
And it looked like it was brand new, apart from some of the windows being shattered and stuff. We like I wish rain hadn't gotten in a little bit, but apart from that, it looked beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. So we did a podcast with a guy named James. So did you hear that podcast? Did y'all listen to it? Because James,
I did, yeah. We met James at the was it the VAC, the Helen's homecoming rally in Jackson Center. That was this
Oh, cool.
year,
That was
right?
just this last
that's
summer, right?
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they do a lot
Yeah,
of
so-
vintage Airstreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a couple really period correct older rigs that
Yeah.
they've redone, and it's
No, I think it's wonderful, and I'm glad that you guys know James. I didn't know if you did or not, but
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
met them, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and have seen some of the work that they've done, and sitting here listening to what your brother and cousin and stuff are doing. It sounds like y'all were right up each other's alley, with the
Yeah.
vintage stuff.
Well, I mean, think about it. If you've been around the Airstream brand as a family unit in some form or fashion since the 50s,
Right?
you're always going to,
Yes.
wouldn't you think?
Yes, it's in the blood. Yeah.
How old is he? He's
He's
like
in
21
20s,
or
right?
early
Yeah.
early 20s. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
yeah. I was very impressed
Yes.
with everything that he had going on when I found out how old he was.
Yep.
That's pretty rare right there.
Mhm.
we
Oh yeah.
the first time we met him, it wasn't long after or long before we met him that he got his driver's license. Maybe he was 17, maybe
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
But
That's
Probably learned how to drive towing an Airstream
yeah,
behind him.
Probably.
could be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
that's great.
we're trying to raise our kids on Airstream too. So all the time when we go to Berning trailer sales, our son would run around and be like, Airstream, Airstream, Airstream.
Oh
and
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so fun. He gets so excited to see him. He's got all the little toy Airstreams and
I
yeah,
think,
like
Aw.
the scale models from
yeah.
the store and stuff. So
I would think that as a kid, just growing up around even just one Airstream, but many would be even more impactful as a kid. I mean, think about the fun you would have, running in and out of them and hide and seek, or just going in and using it as like a fort or a clubhouse, or I mean,
Yeah.
just
Well, especially years ago. Nowadays, people are watching their kids left and right and keeping them close and don't let them play like that. But
helicoptering.
yeah.
Yeah.
But could you imagine?
Yeah.
Well,
in the 50s and 60s.
that actually that goes in perfectly to something that my brother and I remember growing up with Berning trailer sales was my family used to own the Der Kleine Prince, which was the smallest Airstream that was ever created by Airstream. It was from Wally directly, and it was a 10-foot trailer, 13 if you include the tongue.
Wow.
And we got it in the 70s, I think. Someone actually traded it in. It was a couple from Muncie, Indiana. They traded it in for an Argosy.
Wow.
So I think they traded down there, but that's just me. And we used it as a showpiece for a long time. We had it in our showroom, and my brother and I, just like what you mentioned, Chris, one of our fondest memories as kids is running around and playing hide and seek in the Der Kleine Prinz and other models as well. And
wow.
Eventually we sold it to Ken Faber up in Michigan, the collector, after like 12 years of him begging my grandpa to sell it to him. And then he restored it beautifully, and now it's sitting in the RV Hall of Fame, which is really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yes, yeah. It's been there for quite a while. Like I said, Ken and his wife and family, they have a huge Airstream collection, probably only rivaled by David Goley down in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And so he was restoring it and did a fantastic job. And then he eventually, they took it out, I think, on a couple rallies, but it's a 10-foot trailer, so Ken had to sleep on the ground while his wife slept in the tiny little bed. Everyone to this day, they're like, do we even know that it was real? Like, was this actually a thing? But yeah, we have documents from us getting the trade in and stuff, and hearing about it from this couple in Muncie. So
that's really awesome. Yeah, I mean that just goes to like the longevity, the history of the brand, everything, and just how a trailer like that can go from person to person or place to place, but it still is, it ends up in the Hall of Fame or it ends up in a museum. People are enamored by it, or like in the example of David Gully, he begged to buy it because it was rare and
very unique.
Very unique. And
yep.
you don't, I mean, at least in the RV space, who else?
Yeah.
What other brand would command that? And that's what's so
I think
cool.
the only brand I can think of would probably be something like Toyota, just because it's been around for so long.
Yeah.
But that would be like textiles back in the day, so
Yeah.
a little bit different than what they do now. But it is kind of crazy. Speaking of Japan, there were actually Airstream enthusiasts from Japan that were trying to buy it from Ken and my grandparents as well.
Wow.
And so, yeah, after 12 years, my grandpa finally sold it to him. I think he sold it for like $10,000 maybe.
Wow.
Which, in 2004, this was right around the time where Airstream was kind of having some difficulties and things, and there weren't, it's like you had the diehard fans like Ken and his wife and my family, but there wasn't as much kind of intrigue around the brand as there is today, which is it's really cool to see, but it's also kind of a shame back in the day.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah.
Do you know how well I think you are, how lucky you are to have this kind of knowledge about these vintage Airstreams and the history behind the sales and dealerships and Wally and how it all came about. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal information that you've grown up with that so many people don't know, but they're trying to figure it all out now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird too, because for us it was just talking about random things. We didn't even think much of it growing up, and then eventually, yeah, it became this thing where everyone's like, asking us about, what about the Der Kleine Prinz? What about Berning trailer sales? Oh, tell us more about what happened with Wally or Andy Charles or all these different people, and we definitely have a lot of those kind of stories.
When your great grandfather decided to open the dealership in the 50s, at that time he didn't realize he had no idea that Airstream was going to become such an iconic American brand. So because of that, your family got started in something at its infancy back then almost, and it's carried forward through so many generations, and the brand has stayed through all those generations. And that's so what is so unique and I'm sure special with regard to your family.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about the brand of Airstream, there's been a few times in their history where, you know, it could have become the path of no return. I mean, I think they sold to like a food company or something because that was that back in the 80s or 90s or and then selling to Thor and what Thor has been able to do for Airstream and keeping it around, and ACI, you know, formerly Wally Byam Caravan Club International. I mean, they've just been doing such an amazing job, you know, keeping people like integrated in this amazing community and brand that is Airstream. I mean, regardless of if the groups and communities existed, we would still be doing everything that we're doing. But you know, the fact that we can have that community, that connection, and talk to you guys, it's just amazing, and it's a testament to the brand and testament to everyone that was involved with Airstream.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool too. You had mentioned how I married into royalty. And before I met Oliver, I couldn't have even told you what an Airstream was. And I married him, and his whole family is just all about them. And so here I'm taking in all of this historical information, and I'm learning there's a whole community out there of people who are into them. Yeah. And it's so fun to just see our kids be excited about them. It makes me excited. And
that's awesome.
I heard you mention Pee-wee a few minutes ago, and when he was a young child, he got to do something very, very special. And I say young, he was like 12, I think, but he got to do something very, very special. And I think, don't you have something to share with us today about an opportunity that you and your kids and many other people could have?
Dale Schwamborn. So he was Helen Byam Schwamborn's son. And so his uncle was Wally, which, you know, that's cool. That's really cool. And I actually talked to him at the VAC rally. And the reason why I wanted to talk to him was because of his extensive experience on these caravans around the world. You know, when he was really young, he convinced Helen and his family to let him go on the caravan down to Central America. And that was the first caravan, was in 51, I think. And that was, I mean, obviously very, very tough. I actually have a quote from Wally that he wrote in Guatemala City. He said, "I have learned on this trip the difference between men is matter of guts. I hate to go further. I hate to go back over these roads. I guess it is the same stubborn stick-to-itiveness that drove my forebears west."
Wow.
And I think that describes the international caravans very, very well. But yeah, we ironically have some of that same stubborn stick-to-itiveness today, because we're actually going to try and recreate the caravan around the world and actually kind of build on it. We're going to as many continents as possible, 6, hopefully 7.
Wow.
That would be a dream come true to you know, get an Airstream on Antarctica, but I don't know if that's even feasibly possible, but we will try our best.
Yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, expand on that. Tell us, I know we chatted about it in the warm up, but just share whatever's on your mind about your planning.
I know everyone is excited to hear this, because that's what Airstreaming is all about. That's why Wally had Airstream, right? Is to travel and get out, not just to watch it sit in the backyard.
The adventure,
yes.
So tell us about what you've planned, what you've got on your mind, what your aspirations are, what just all the fun details.
Yeah, so we've been planning it since I think January or February of this year. And that's when I reached out to Eric McHenry, and he connected me with quite a few people. And he mistakenly, kind of ironically, said, "Oh, they're doing an around the world trip." And initially, I was looking to just recreate the Africa adventure from Cape Town to Cairo. And then I kind of looked at Sarah and I was like, well, I guess we're going around the world. So, yeah, we just started planning everything. And today, I think that planning caravans and everything using artificial intelligence like ChatGPT and Claude and some of these other tools, it has never become easier to kind of create these crazy, ambitious trips. I mean, you can plug in something and say, hey, I'm going from Cape Town to Windhoek in Namibia. Can you plan out a route where we want to go 100 miles or less a day? And it will tell you exactly where to stop. It will give you all the roads. It will give you safety concerns. It will give you all of the visa and, carnet de passage, which is like the, import permit type stuff. It will tell you everything. So it's kind of crazy that you can do all this so quickly now, and that's what I've been doing is kind of planning our route. We're starting just by recreating the Central America trip, the first one that took place in 51, because 2026, when we're heading out, will be the 75th anniversary of that caravan.
Yeah.
So we're looking to kind of recreate that and then just keep heading south.
Very
Wow.
cool. That is that's exciting. It's
intense, is what it is.
Well, it's inspirational.
Yes.
Very intense.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's one of those things that because of the history and the heritage that everybody knows Airstream was born from, and some of those early caravans, why not focus on trying to duplicate it, do it again, do it different, do it in today's day and age with people that want to enjoy the technology and the way that you can travel the world now versus back then.
Well, the tools that we have now make it so much better to travel too.
Yeah, there's something to be said about safety in numbers and also just logistics. It sounds like a headache and a half, but honestly, I feel like the amount of leverage that you can have when you're entering a country with 20, 30, 40 rigs compared to 2 or 3, I think it can't be overstated enough. And yeah, we're hoping to start that soon and get people kind of more integrated with the planning side of things as well. So because it's only a couple of years off, but
yeah, like you get a couple other passionate folks to dive in and help with logistics and planning and just strategy. And you're saying that you're wanting to or you have a goal of trying to get at least the first leg going in the next year or so, or a couple years?
Yeah, the current plan is to leave in October of 2026. We're trying to plan it around like weather and what makes sense. Obviously things can change. One of the downsides that I feel like a lot of people think about right now when it comes to traveling around the globe is just 24/7 news, and 99.9% of the time it's negative. It's it's these terrible things that are happening around the world, and we just want to get back out there again and prove to people like those things happen, but they happen everywhere. They happen in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They happen in Detroit. They happen in Chicago. It's all over the place, and we just want to kind of distill that idea that outside of U.S. is bad, and all those kind of things.
Right. Well,
and having all this media that can work in our favor of planning which route to take, how to get through places safely. I mean, it's a good advantage that we have all of the media that we do, just as much as it's a disadvantage.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can reach out without having a scout team. Like going back to Pee Wee, he was the scout for Cape Town to Cairo, and we won't necessarily need that because we'll just send them a WhatsApp message.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is like the technology that's available now for doing the kind of stuff like you're talking about, the scouting ahead and just what's going to be going on 2 days from now in front of me on my route. You can almost predict that with today's technology and tools, so that it's a lot easier than it was back then, for sure.
Well, and there's such a huge overlanding community. People, not necessarily in Airstreams right now, but people that are traveling around in Forerunners and 4x4s and all these different kind of rigs that they've built out themselves, and using tools like iOverland or Gaia GPS, or all these different things. They're planning everything out. They're telling you, hey, avoid these areas. Hey, this this border crossing was kind of sketch. And so it's just crazy. The internet plays such an awesome role in planning these kind of things. So then it's not as much of, oh crap, we're stuck in a desert and we're going 2 miles a day and we have to get there
Right.
in like 2 weeks. We
Right.
don't have to deal with that as much.
Right.
So
Well, they made their own roads in some cases.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know
exactly.
a few years back, actually it was just before COVID, Gina and I were at an RV rally, and there was a couple there, probably early 30s, maybe late 20s, early 30s, and they had a little small son that was maybe
a year
and a
half.
He was walking, but he was little, and they had their overlanding Jeep on display, all opened out with all the gear in it that they were going to use for overlanding as a family. And they were doing a seminar to show off all of that setup and what their plans were. And they were getting ready to set off on a multi-year trip down into South America. And, this was before.
Just the three of them.
Yeah, and they are still on that trip, and it's I wish that their names were on the front of my mind right now, but I still see some of their social media posts and stuff, and the kids growing up, they're still out there enjoying it, and they're traveling in a Jeep. That's it, and loving
life,
loving the travels, and. You think, well, they're going down through Mexico, going down into Central America. They're going down, it's South America, and it's they're using the technology, and they're staying safe, and they're enjoying traveling the world. And
there's something to be said about traveling with kids, especially young kids. They just absorb everything: the cultures, the language, the food, everything, and. I know with Airstream directly, they have the Future Streamers Intra Club, which we definitely want to be more a part of going forward. But outside of that, too, one of the kind of funny little anecdotes that I have is when we came back from Kenya. We were living there for 2 months, and everywhere we walked, everyone would say "Jambo," which is like their version of saying hello. And so we came back to the States. And Edison, our oldest, I think he was 2, right? And we went on a walk, just him and I, and there was an African-American couple outside, and he immediately went, "Jumbo!" And I basically just was like, "Oh, I don't know what, my son's crazy. I don't know what he's saying." So it's just kind of crazy what your kids absorb when they're traveling. And we were just in Brazil for 3 months. Outside of Rio, and our daughter will still just go around and say "Bom dia, which is like "good day."
That's cool.
Start speaking in Portuguese. So.
Okay, well, while you're talking about your kids, go ahead and tell us the funny story about your kids. You mentioned it to us in the warm up, but go ahead and tell that again.
Tell our listeners what your child thinks of us.
Yeah.
So our oldest son, Edison, he's about 3.5 now. And Sarah was not listening to the podcast yet. So we put it on the TV. And our son has a funny way of basically saying that he doesn't want to watch something or listen to something. And he says that it's too scary for him. So we started playing the podcast, and within like 2 minutes, he was like, "It's too scary for me. I don't, I can't watch it." He wanted to watch Paw Patrol, but we told him, we're like, "No, we're listening to this." So.
Yeah, we can be pretty scary sometimes.
I can be scary, Edison. Edison.
Leave his son alone.
I just heard him in the other room. What's that? It's scary.
Oh no! See,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
He
gonna-
woke up from his sleep
Oh no.
just to wonder what that was.
So our podcast is too scary.
Uh-oh.
I
Yeah.
like.
He just wanted to watch a cartoon, baby. That's all.
I like that. Maybe that needs to be like a promotional line we put. It's like The Riveted with Chris and Gina. It's too scary for me.
Yeah. It's too scary for Edison, but everyone else, it's fine.
I like it. I like it.
I have to use that on a quote somewhere.
Yeah,
It's too scary, said Edison.
I want to go back real quick. We were talking about the Berning Museum and a lot of the amazing artifacts and stuff that you found and or have and stuff. Did any of the things that you find or owned or had, did it make it to the Heritage Center at Airstream? Is any of your stuff there?
Yeah. I mean, I believe it is. We actually had Samantha Martin, right? She came out to visit us at Berning Trailer Sales, and she brought someone else. I can't think of his name. He was really, really nice too, and they were so excited about just everything that they were seeing. You know, we've actually sold trailers that we had originally sold from the Jackson Center plant. So we gave them the original sticker that had in the window, and we just sold it, 50 years later or 60 years later.
Yeah, the same
so
one.
there's cool little stories about that, and some of the things that they grabbed were actually some of our dealership, materials books. So they spent a lot of time and money putting together these beautiful books that showed, what the interiors look like, the carpeting, the curtains, the wood materials, everything.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have some of those at Airstream. So Samantha, of course, was like ecstatic to see those.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's wonderful. Samantha is amazing. And the work that she did at the Heritage Center, it's just unbelievable. Right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
It took us, we didn't even get through the whole thing. I mean, we did, but not in detail. And we were there for the whole weekend, 2-3 days. And we could have stayed in there a whole lot longer, but we were there the weekend that they opened. And, of course, we had speakers and all kinds of activity going on. So we couldn't sit in the Heritage Center the whole time. But I was listening to as many recordings as I could. I was watching as many of the films that they had. Going in, around the units that they had on display there. I just couldn't get over all of it. And when they said, yes, they had found it from other people, or it was donated or whatever it was, it just amazed me that so many people had held on to this for so many years. And like your family holding on to it for so many years. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And we've had all kinds of people come and visit us. We even had all at once. We had David Goley, Joe Poplinski, who does all of the history stuff for Airstream,
Right.
As well as Steve Blackmer, who is the former president of the Vintage Airstream Club. And it was actually his anniversary of all days. So we were like, hey, apologize to your wife when you head back up. But they joined us at Berning Trailer Sales, and they kind of went through all of the really cool stuff, and they're working on trying to preserve some of those, some of those paperworks and things as well, making copies for the ACI and Airstream International. Great. So
you mentioned recordings a minute ago, and you shared one with us that I want to play on the podcast and let everybody listen to it. It's just, I think it's awesome.
Okay.
I think it's going to come through well. I hope it does, but we're doing this live on the recording, so let's see how this goes.
We're doing it live.
Yeah, we're doing it live. We're doing it live.
Anything could happen.
So this is a promotional recording for advertising to customers to come out to this special event sale for Airstream. And Oliver, do you remember the year of this recording? Like when it may have mentioned it in the recording, and I can't, like 1970 maybe, or was it earlier than that?
I believe it was 1970. Yeah,
Okay.
most of the recordings that we've seen so far, we have plenty of them, I'm
Yeah.
sure, but
Yes.
most of the recordings I have are from the 70s.
All right, so let's take a listen to
This is gonna be
this.
fun.
Yeah.
If you've ever dreamed of owning an Airstream travel trailer, here's your chance to get one free. Yes, you can win a 23-foot Airstream travel trailer absolutely free during Airstream's big adventure sweepstakes. First prize is a brand new 23-foot Airstream travel trailer. Second prize is a fabulous vacation for you and your entire family at Disney World's Fort Wilderness. Other prizes are color television sets, still cameras, and movie cameras. No essays to write, nothing to buy. Just come in and register with your local Airstream dealer. You could easily be the lucky winner during the Airstream Adventure Sweepstakes, April 1st to May 18th. Licensed drivers over 18 years of age. Void where prohibited.
I love that.
Amazing.
Isn't that awesome?
I love that.
Void where prohibited.
Yeah, but nowadays when there's a disclaimer at the end, it goes on for longer than the commercial did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they have the guy talking about like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how
Yeah.
I wonder just how many Airstreams burning trailer sales sold back then because of that promotional
Yes.
recording.
I wonder who won the
Ev-
Airstream.
Everybody was rushing into the dealership.
I'm curious who went to Fort Wilderness before it obviously closed
Yeah.
down, because I had never even heard of it before I played the record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And that recording definitely sounded older than 1970,
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know, babe.
It did,
Maybe.
yeah.
It
We had a couple other recordings. I don't know if you got that one, but there's also a really cool one where it's a showcase of the 1970
Oh no, yeah.
Airstream showcase.
Yeah,
And that one's really cool too.
you sent me two, so let me play the second one. So here's the second one.
Here we go.
On September 25th, you'll have a chance to see the most advanced travel trailer in the world. The Airstream preview of the fabulous 1970 Airstream fleet is coming to your town. See a wide selection of the most luxurious travel accommodations on wheels. Try an Airstream on the road yourself. The 1970 Airstream offers you more luxury, more comfort, more convenience than ever known before in a recreational vehicle. A travel dream and a 1970 Airstream are all you need to go around the country or around the world. Don't miss the big preview. Come early and enjoy free refreshments. Try for the valuable door prize. Have all your travel trailer questions answered.
Oh gosh.
There you go.
That is awesome.
It is wonderful. It makes me
I
want to
wanted
go.
Yeah, I wanted to showcase that one because of the crazy, awesome music at the beginning, the bump, bum, 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 bum,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
the fact that he talked about going around the world too. I just,
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, hey,
Right.
that's
Take-
awesome.
Buy
So-
your 1970 Airstream for the country or around the world.
Or around the world. It wasn't like for a weekend getaway. It was like,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Those are so cool. I mean, it's those kind of things are what is, automotive brands have been around for a long, long time, obviously, and you can look back at commercials and print ads and things like that of brands that have been around a long time and advertised and sold and so forth. But Airstream is just so unique, and there's so many generations that have been around the brand, and the younger generation now, like there's a huge interest in Airstream from the younger generation, younger demographics now, and they may not even know about some of this stuff from way back in the day, but just the fact that it's been around that long is what's caused them to just know that, hey, I need to pay attention to this, and it's really, really neat.
Oh yeah. Well, again, I think one of the crazy things about that, I was kind of mentioning it before, but it's like, you could buy a trailer brand new from Berning Trailer Sales back in 1950 something, 1960s, and we held on to that record for this long, and we could find that trailer to this day using the VIN number using the BRN. Sometimes we even saw our Berning Trailer Sales stickers on the side of them.
Yeah.
And we would resell them to someone and be able to provide that history, and it just makes you happy that, my great grandparents were the hoarders that they were, because these kind of things, we wouldn't be playing these if they just threw them out like every other dealership. So.
Right. No, you're exactly right. And, that generation, your great grandparents' generation and so forth, they were of the age and the generation that they saved everything. And some things are worth saving, others aren't, but these things are definitely worth saving for sure. And
one of the other things that was just really cool when we were digging through some paperwork, I saw a file for WBCCI, and I opened it up, and there was a pristine condition letter that was signed by Helen Schwamborn, talking about the WBCCI and how we need to sell it, to the customers every time they buy an Airstream trailer, and all the benefits and everything from the program. It even had like an original trifold brochure from whenever I don't think it was when the WBCCI started, but I think it was like shortly thereafter when they were really like pushing it out to everyone.
That's really awesome.
No, that is wonderful.
There's a lot of people in the Airstream Club right now, and we kind of touched on this in our warm up. They absolutely love Airstream. They love caravanning. They love hanging out with their friends in the community. But one of the things that I felt like was kind of missing when we had joined ACI, and this is to no one's fault at all, but it's just that Wally spirit. When you listen to his creed, I have some of them here that are my favorites, but to place the great wide world at your doorstep for you who yearn to travel with all the comforts of home, to keep alive and make real an enduring promise of high adventure in faraway lands, to lead caravans wherever the four winds blow, across trackless deserts to the traveled and untraveled corners of the earth, and to play some part in promoting international goodwill and understanding among the peoples of the world through person-to-person contact. And I'm like, that's us.
Yeah.
That's us to a T. As soon as we started watching those old films that the marketing team at Airstream did, with all these famous actors like Vincent Price, and I'm like, this is something that Wally would love to do. I mean, we know that Wally would join us if he were alive, even at 120 years old. I know that he would just have us tug him along for our adventures. So that just gets us excited.
Well, there's the term that is around in a lot of Airstream marketing, which is adventure inspired by Airstream, and that adventure can be different for different people. It could just be, I'm going to make a trip across the country to go see Yellowstone, and that's the adventure. And
that's great. If that's their adventure,
and that's great. It's awesome. It's it could be anything, and in between, and big long caravans, round the world caravan, South African caravan, or
weekend getaways,
just doing 2 nights at a Harvest Host. For some people, it's adventure, and so any of those choices, I think that is exciting and honoring the creed that you just read, especially if you're doing it in an Airstream. And I think that's what's causing this brand to be so popular, and the energy and the history that is around it just causes people to just be very, very passionate about it, like yourself and Sarah. And we're excited to have you share that with us. We're thank you so very, very much for being on this podcast and reaching out to us. We're glad to know you now, and we just, you taught us so much about some of the historical parts of the brand and just everything you've got going on in your mind as a passionate Airstream enthusiast, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for having us on. And I kind of mentioned it to Chris in my initial message to him, but I felt like an outsider a little bit. I was like, I don't know if I'm, important enough. I'm not Ray Combs. I'm not James Shaw. I'm not,
What?
David Goley or some of these others that are more involved. And, but we want to be. I mean, our life is pretty much dedicated to Airstream, and it has always been, to be honest. And yeah, we're also, if I remember correctly, during the warm up, we were thinking that you guys were potentially going to join us, right? Have the Riveted podcast around the world.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think I remember you guys saying that.
Yes. Yes. I was actually waiting for there to be a lull in the conversation, and I was going to say, Chris, come on. I got to go.
As soon as
I got to get to the bank, start saving my money.
as
I
soon,
got to go.
Yeah. As soon as the Riveted with Chris and Gina gets sponsored and picked up by Ram Trucks, and I'm able to get a new tow vehicle, we will sign up for that caravan in a heartbeat.
Yes.
But
Don't talk too loud though. Our other truck's out there right
I
now.
know.
It's got to last us until we can
Don't get jealous.
Till we can
We
get
gotta talk
another one.
sweet to
That's
it,
right.
But yeah, no, we definitely something like that is right up our alley. We would love that. So
yes, and I'm telling you, if you build it, they will come kind of thing. Yeah, I wouldn't miss it.
Right.
yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
I think there's something so cool about it too, that just the community and the family that you're going to make on a trip like that.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to go through some really crazy things
Yes.
out in the world.
You're
And
exactly
you
right.
go through all that together, and it's like an unbreakable bond at that point.
It is. Yes.
That's very good point, Sarah, because you're right. Whether you hope that the trip's going to be perfectly smooth and nothing but fun, but there'll be some challenges. But when everybody goes through those challenges together, it just makes for an amazing bond, like you said. So that's very well said.
Oh, yeah.
And who knows? They may have a podcast about all of us in 60 years from then.
You think?
Maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
They'll play a record and it'll be like bum ba bum bum bum, and then you guys will start talking.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll all be dressed in suit coats and fancy clothes like they were in there.
I do not think that will
we'll
happen.
have the felt berets, but
Yes.
apart from the felt berets, we'll probably
Yes.
be in t-shirts and shorts.
Yes.
Yeah. Flip flops.
I was going to say flip
Were you gonna
flops.
say flip-flops?
Flip flops, t-shirt, shorts.
We call them thongs.
Thongs. I like them. Thongs. Yeah, I'm sure people will be
Yeah.
wearing thongs.
Well,
too.
I think we definitely need to. Well, we're going to stay in touch, obviously, but we need to have you back on in a little, as it gets closer to time for the
we'll do a check-in and
for the caravan to come together in a more tight way to promote it to the masses. We'll have you come back on and have another conversation specifically about the caravan. But that
would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got to go. It's been an hour and 13 minutes. Wonderful chat.
Wonderful.
We need to wrap up and let them get back to their Peruvian Saturday night.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
Yeah. We kind of mentioned it on the warm up, but this is when we go out to the historic center and we start playing our Peruvian flute and put on our chulo hats and start going crazy. So
Go
I'm
crazy.
kidding. We're
Go crazy.
going to bed.
Yeah.
Going straight to bed.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'll watch some Yellowstone and then I'm gonna pass out.
There you go. Enjoy it.
We're honored to have you on and have you share a little bit about your family's history and passion for Airstream, and we can't wait to connect with you again. And again, thank you so very much for being on the podcast, Oliver and Sarah, and we will see you down the road.
Safe travels, you guys. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah.
Awesome, Gina. Can you believe what the conversation we just had?
I'm telling you, Chris, it's phenomenal what all they have going on, right?
I have to give credit to us for that.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
I do, because, I mean, think about it. Just in this short number of episodes that we've done, we're attracting this kind of attention. I mean, people with this kind of extensive history with Airstream, they don't need to be talking to us. I mean,
I know.
They should be doing their own podcast or something.
No, don't tell them that.
But they came on
They did great.
They came on the Riveted with Chris and Gina.
They did, and we appreciate that.
Man, I tell you, that was awesome stuff.
Yes.
Listener, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you absorbed some of the amazing information. And let's just say that we were lucky to have met them and had them on the podcast.
Yes.
So, everybody, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Follow our podcast so you'll be notified of new episodes, and we can't wait to have you come back and listen again. And Gina, what do we say?
See you down the road.